of the colon. She was one of the few artists to be nominated in the Tony, Grammy and Emmy Award categories, but she was criticised in America in the late 1960s after speaking out against the Vietnam War.
Think of all the fun I've missed.
Her sultry singing style, complete with trademark purr, brought her fame and fortune. An iconic performer of the swinging 60s, a black female artist who broke into cabaret from the humblest of backgrounds. Eartha Kitt was born on a cotton farm in South Carolina to a black mother and white father whom she never knew. As a small child, she was given away to a neighbouring family, something which haunted her for the rest of her life. Her break came at 16 when she got a job as a dancer with a professional troupe touring Europe. She sang in Paris nightclubs and in the 50s appeared in several films.
My greatest challenge was to be able to survive in the business and to be able to survive according to what I was doing, not according to what other people were doing. And therefore I just stuck to my own guns, and I think that's one of the ways I have survived, is that I didn't follow the herd. I followed my own path.
Her life was not without controversy. Her criticism of the war in Vietnam meant it was 11 years before she worked in the United States again. And she was criticised for touring South Africa in 1974, but she argued she'd helped weaken the apartheid system by raising awareness. She was still performing in cabaret into her 70s and 80s, with a sensuousness and humour which were hallmarks of her professional life. Russell Trott, BBC News.
Earlier I spoke to broadcaster Paul Gambaccini. He paid tribute to her.
I think of a very human moment that I had with her, which almost helped to explain her very courageous career. And that was when she told me that the hardest thing for her had been when she was a child, and she'd been given away by her mother, who had been 14 and couldn't raise a child herself, being a child herself. And she was given to relatives, and their children thought that she was too light-skinned, and they made fun of her, and they would put her in a bag, which they would hang from the branch of a tree, and then they would kick the bag. And she thought that was so cruel that nothing else she struggled against in her entire career was as sad as that. She was a great performer, almost without fear. You know that she was blacklisted after actually standing up in the White House during a performance for President Lyndon Johnson and criticizing the Vietnam War. But her popularity with the public continued, and it was ironic that you played Santa Baby, because Santa Baby was just certified a gold disc last year. It still sells regularly. She is a vivacious performer, and songs like Stacey Bon, Love for Sale. She really was a temptress on record, even if you never saw her. But once you did see her, then you might as well just give up and go home, because she was all woman.
She was one of the few artists, wasn't she, who was nominated for a Tony, a Grammy and an Emmy Award. That's quite an achievement. Well, it is.
I can only think of Rita Moreno and Liza Minnelli being in that company as well. She was a mistress of all forms of entertainment, and as you know, was still regularly appearing in cabaret this year. In New York City, she had a long-term residency here, and she would occasionally perform in London as well. So she was active to the very, very end.
And there was, of course, that trademark purr of hers, which will probably be an enduring memory, do you think?
Oh, yes. I like the fact that all of the various adjectives for being feline were dragged out for her. She was like catnip. She was a sex kitten. She flashed her claws. She slinked. She had 9 lives. She was on the prowl. No wonder she was chosen to play Catwoman in the Batman series.
Paul Gambaccini there talking about Eartha Kitt, who's died. Now, the Israeli